Get that out of the way right away.
This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. Never pass on shooter bucks, because that's just meat in the freezer. It's your tag, you hunt how you want. This is Okayest Hunter.
Hey, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the Okayest Hunter podcast. If you're a first-time listener, just welcome in general. And if you're coming back, well, you're a glutton for something. Awkwardness, pain, laughter, weird shit. I don't know. I called everyone a bunch of bitches last week. If you haven't ever hunted. So I don't know what you're going to get this week, but we are presented and brought to you by Nosler. Oddly enough, speaking of Nosler, for some weird reason, I thought they were our guest tonight. That's not the case. I couldn't have been more inaccurate with my ability to read a calendar. It's not till June. So I don't know what happened. I think we have a gap between last guest and the next one. I just thought, oh, they're the next one up. It must be next week. So I tagged Maddie and Nosler, and she's like, hey, am I on a podcast? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I think so. And then I was like, oh, wait, never mind. You're totally not. She's like, I about had a heart attack. I didn't expect that tonight. I was like, nope, that's totally my fault. I owe you a drink or something now. I don't know why that happened. That's
actually the biggest reason they wanted to partner with you, Eric, is they were so tired of your inaccuracies. They wanted to help out with some accuracy. So now you've got an ammunition sponsor.
Just correct my whole life, please. That would be fantastic. But
there's
high
a whole
quality
lot
ammunition.
Of stuff that we shouldn't touch there. Just
code OHP is going to save you 20% on their ammo. Doesn't matter what kind you're buying from them, 20% across the board. And, you know, they are officially scheduled for June 4th. And we're going to go over the anatomy of ammo on that particular episode. Greg will actually be here for that one. So that works out well because he's not for this one. So my hope is that, you know, it'll be a better episode anyways with someone like Greg around, not me just being an nincompoop. We have other partners. Be sure to support them. Latitude, Spartan Forge, Rack Hub. Again, code OHP across the board. Muck was one of our newer partners that we just brought on recently, Muck Boots. So discount code OHP over there as well. I have been running around in my clogs. I enjoy them. They do make my feet pretty sweaty, but I imagine every shoe does. So it was a big win to wear them barefoot on that hot day that happened. Was that Mother's Day when it was hot outside? I think. So Anyway, check it out. And then Bear Archery, of course, they're a partner of ours too, but their logo's on the screen. That's intentional. They are, how do I want to put it with them? Like we're close. We're partners. They're doing the thing with us. It's a little just a bit more like incognito. Like, yeah, we all shoot bear here. What do you know? Like it's just part of what we do with the signs in the background. I don't think you can see it based on this frame, but depending on if you catch us on YouTube later, you'll see it. But the signs on the thing, the bows are hanging in the studio. And we're going to go officially. I got it figured out, Derek. Me, Greg, and Tyler. Well, sorry, not Tyler. Just me and Greg are going to go to Whale Tails in Dousman on a Friday this month. I think it's the last Friday.
You're as good with your thoughts as you are with a calendar.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go spend like 4 hours at Whale Tails and just get shit done and fling a shit ton of arrows. So
that's what's cool about Bear too, is like obviously now you're talking about them, you know, this season, this year, but man, they've kind of been partnering with you and with us for a little while, and every time I think we've had Foam Fest the last 2 years, they've just said like, here's some bows, give these away, give them to the people, which has just been an awesome move. Like not entirely strangely out of character, because that's just kind of who they are and their motto, but they've been quiet partner for a little while now.
Yeah, you're right. 2 years in a row, we've given away 4 bows at Foam Fest. Foam Fest, by the way, I guess I should start there more than anything before we get into whatever we're going to get into here, which is a total shit show. But I don't know what the date is for that either. It's probably on the Eventbrite. I did it all. I don't remember what it was, but Foam Fest is officially on the calendar for the 31st.
Yes. 31st of August.
Thank you. It's literally the last Saturday of the month. I thought it was going to be the 24th in my mind, and then I reached out to Horkin Marsh Archers, and they're like, "Nope, you have on the calendar the 31st." I'm like, "Cool." I just keep fucking up every where I go, and it always has to do with the calendar. So it's probably
Dude,
because I
you're just
maintain
okay.
like
You're okay. It's all right.
it's okay.
You're
It's
just
part of
okay.
the it's part of the gig. It's part of the gig. So anyway, it's going to be, I think, a 10 a.m. start. Just to give us enough time to get there and get ready, get the course sprayed with mosquito repellent stuff, get donuts and food and all the stuff ready to go. And it'll go till I think 9 at night. I don't know that anyone will stay that late. We usually wrap up a little before that, and then our tight knit crew will do the course ourselves when we're done hosting that event. And then we all kind of, I think, Derek, it's usually your daughter's birthday though, so you bail, rightfully so, pretty quick. Timing wise, does that work out this year better?
Yeah, her birthday's the 29th. So last year was actually, I think it was actually her birthday.
On her birthday, yeah.
Which was pretty amazing because that pink bow hanging in the background from Bear, she won on a ticket that I think one of the guys bought her some tickets just out of like a happy birthday thing, which was pretty awesome. And she won the bow on her birthday. So this year it won't be her actual birthday, but she likes to come and hang out. So if you have kids, bring them. Super kid friendly. We usually have prizes, coloring contest, shed antler, hunt for the kids so they can win some prizes. It's a really good time. I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, your kid Derek can't win again this year though, or people are going to start screaming collusion. Like it's going to happen.
That's absolutely true. I'm the least lucky person there is. So like I bought like $40 worth of tickets for her. Of course, it didn't win on my ticket. It was on like the ticket that Joe from BHA.
Oh my God, Joe Steffen, yeah.
Okay, Joe bought her like $10 and she won on Joe's ticket. So it wasn't even mine. There wasn't us picking our own bias. It was Joe's ticket that won her the
Knowing Joe, he bought half the tickets that were sold. Like I've seen him at a BHA event. Like he will buy half the tickets.
And he'll be the one you can't get to leave the bonfire either. He'll be kicking over beer cans till 2 a.m. That's what I love about him.
I think they're the BHA. We're partnering with BHA on it. So I imagine those guys will all be there. So they decided to go in half with us on the whole thing. I don't even know what that means necessarily yet, other than like we probably just end up hanging out with those guys all the time at these things. They bring a big old cooler of beer at the end, and it's a good time. So I didn't say that out loud in the podcast because you do have to buy your beer from the venue. So don't bring your own beer. There is no cooler. That's not a thing. I am misspeaking. Anywho, so Sean Ritter's on with us because I messaged our group chat of the podcast network, the OK's podcast network, and I was like, hey, I've totally messed up on the calendar. I don't have a guest. Anyone want to call in and shoot the shit? And because you're technically savvy, you just jumped right into the restream, which is really impressive. So thanks, Sean.
You're used to doing this, and I'm the new guy, and I'm like the old grizzly veteran, I guess. Apparently,
it's great. Well, so it's funny is you had me on your first episode of Camp Okeus, but we didn't have you on here. I mean, I think you've been on in the past, but not since you started this thing. So if you just want to take the stage for a minute and talk about, I mean, this is kind of your brainchild that you pitched to be on the network with, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So here you are.
Yeah, and it was, kind of the brainchild of everything. You think about, and I've had this conversation. I was actually talking with Paul from Turkey Season just the other day about this. Was kind of the part that's really cool is we've got, and I know, Eric, you and I talked about this in the first episode of Camp Okeus, and the idea behind Camp Okeus is it's like your deer camp, your fish camp, it's your campfire. It's, I've kind of always had this slogan that the original social network was the bonfire, right? Like, think about it. You go, like, you sit around with your friends and family, you share stories, you BS, you razz each other a little. Sometimes you pick up little tips and tricks from stories, or someone's like, oh, hey, you got to try this. There's all kinds of things that come from just having a conversation. And we've got such an eclectic, fun, and diverse group of people involved in this entire podcast network, from, the Godfather, Eric Clark, who started it all. I'm going to continue with that Godfather. I'm going to make that name a thing, Eric. Don't worry. To then you go to, Tyler and the guys from Upduck and what they're doing with, like really focusing on birds, whether it's waterfowl, upland, everything. Like I said, you've got Turkey Season, you've got the Onset, you've got now Okeus Cook, and those guys were looking at food, which, by the way, my shirt tonight is a shout out to those guys. Anyone's a fan of Tony Bourdain is a fan of mine, and I'm a fan of yours. But like, we've got food, we have all these things that encompass the outdoors, and I really wanted to kind of create something that could be almost a centralized hub of it. So when you listen to Camp OKS, we're gonna have conversations about all kinds of stuff. We just talked about, I think Eric, you and I, we had no plan. And we
No.
eventually ended up talking about just kind of social media and what it's like starting podcasts and what it takes and the work it takes to do these things. Because every day, hundreds of people try and start podcasts. And we're not saying like don't do it, but just kind of giving the tip into what it takes and what it means and the commitment and really just what really the community in the outdoors is like and why we all do this together. And then, Greg and I talked about fishing. I had the episode last week. My buddy John Resnick and I, we spent an entire weekend up in Sturgeon Bay fishing smallmouth, which is what I grew up doing. And we wanted to try and catch a 7-pounder. And so we kind of went through explained the whole journey of what we did with that whole weekend of kind of creating a fish camp, so to speak. It was just me, him, and his dad, but getting to share those experiences. Two guys who are big bass fishermen, really like, game planning based on both of our experiences and try and get his dad to catch big fish. We talked a lot about that. We broke down some lures, but not like in a nerdy, geeky way. It's just like we're doing, just having conversations. And that's kind of the concept of OKist or Camp OKist. It's just, we're all just okay at everything. My goal is to just be okay and hope that my being okay today is 1% more okay than I was yesterday, because that's progress. I feel like I'm going to put that on a t-shirt.
You should. And you're getting a lot of compliments on the shirt. Although Levi Carey just said, I thought that was Epstein. Because I don't know who Bourdain is. So.
Levi, you're gone. Gone. Bye. Don't ever stream again. I'm kidding. But seriously, it's Tony. Tony Bourdain.
Is he? What show is that on? Like, what show is he?
Yeah, travel.
Do you not know Anthony Bourdain?
Bro. He was around. How long was he around, man? He ran that show on Travel
forever.
Channel.
Tony started with Food Network with a cook's tour, right? He ended up writing a book on that. That all came from the deal from when he wrote No Reservations about his time being in restaurants, right? He then got off Food Network, eventually to Travel Channel, started No Reservations, the show, which then led to The Layover, which is another show, which then led him to CNN. Do you want me to go through the whole discography,
I mean, you kind of did. I appreciate it. I now have some vague memory of this. Yeah.
Ritter, if you could throw in a few dates of when that happened for the calendar guy over there, that would really help him out.
He's not going to remember anyway. He's terrible with marking down those dates.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric.
Oh my God. This is like the era when people would watch. Do you remember like the channel E and for entertainment? And there's always like some chick doing like tours of nightclubs. I always remember being young, being like, where do you go to meet that many women at one time? Like me and all my teenage friends in high school are like, what? And I forget the gal who hosted it because she was like a nice gal. I forget what the show was, but it was like they're just always touring this thing. And I think then one of the other shows was like this, the Bourdain one. I remember watching that one, and River Monsters was big, I think. Like there was like these main shows that you just,
Food Network, then Travel Channel. Most of the Travel Channel where you'd see them.
I almost actually. I think the Travel Channel thing. I think the girl I'm thinking of with that show was the Travel Channel thing. That's where it's coming from.
That's
because they're traveling.
Brooke Burke.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I didn't remember what we were talking about, but as soon as I read Brooke Burke from Josh, I was like, yes, that was it.
The Wild On. Where was that? It was on E. Okay. But yes, holy shit, Josh, way to go.
Coming in.
You just gave Eric some flashbacks to his childhood, his adolescence, and becoming a man, so to speak.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Anyway, so I don't know where this podcast is going to go from here. It's going to get pretty strange. No, I mean, the network's cool. I'm glad that you're on it and that you're kind of like bringing the network together as the MC and kind of blending all these things together. The fact that you already know everyone by first name, you know who's on the show, you know who the network is. And we're kind of past, like, I think we've hit our first milestone or goal of the growth of this thing. Where like, I finally feel that we have 10. I finally feel like, okay, the network is now here. Now let's focus on like just bulking it up. Like we've got the skeleton in place. Now we can start adding some muscle and some definition, and we can start to like do our thing. And it was really hard.
And that's where
to build to like every time a new one came on, it was like a new personality, a new thing, it was all this influx of like workflow kept changing for the last year. And so I'm like, all right, now we can just, I don't want to say coast. That's not what I mean, but you know what I mean.
No, yeah, and that's again, everyone can grow collectively together when it's the cross promotion, so to speak. You know what I mean? We're like, and I mentioned this when I was talking, the other night with Paul. I was like, the thing is, if I'm talking about turkeys or anything about turkey season or turkey hunting or anything, I can easily be like, hey, if you're interested in that, go check out turkey season, or, oh, you love bow hunting. Oh, go check out OKS Hunter, or you love fishing, OKS Fisher, or you love food. Oh, you got to check out OKS Cook. Like, it's a great way to just like tell people different places they can find cool content. I think of it like I'm the YouTube algorithm. You know what I mean? Like you come for like the general everything,
You're just gonna
and you
spend
really
more-
like an interest in something, and I'm going to recommend you.
and we're just not going to recommend. We're not going.
You know what I mean? Like,
let's just not recommend Western Territory since he's calling your shirt Epstein. Levi's out. No,
Yeah.
Levi's in the comments here.
One guy that's never going to appear on Camp OKS who does not have a seat by the bonfire. I'm just saying. You don't know Tony Bourdain. You can't sit by my bonfire.
Oh shit, it's me. I'm out. Yeah, I didn't know who he was. Brooke Burke, by the way. Let me tell you, talking about that.
Yeah, Josh is welcome anytime.
Oh, that's funny. So, deer hunting, eh? Let's. What were some deer hunting shows you guys watched growing up?
Oh my gosh, does anybody remember? This is probably, I mean, this is a really old one, but it was a VHS tape, and it was a promotional tape for the Tree Lounge. It's like an old climbing stand that had like a sling seat. And there was a video called Tree Lounge Trophies with Bob and Margaret. I don't remember if their last name was Hack or something like that, but Bob and Margaret were hunting like 35, 40 feet up in these trees and just spine shooting deer after deer.
Oh my God, what?
Margaret was a killer, but she was a piece of work, man. She had some really crazy quotes, and we used to watch that VHS at my cabin all the time with my parents. That was a fun one.
Were there VHS?
I love how you mentioned VHS at the cabin because
you still have that VHS at the cabin.
Right, you probably didn't. You could barely get an over the air, so everyone had the old crappy VHSs at their cabin, at their camp. You know what I mean?
It's probably worn out. That tape's probably all worn out from watching it so many times. But yeah, we had that. We had all.
What do you know about worn out tapes?
Yeah, we talking about deer hunting.
What do you know about worn out VHS tapes?
I remember I watched with my dad Blood Brothers, which was like the original Dan Infalt stuff. But previous to that, I think what was I probably 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. Whatever was on Saturday morning on whatever, it wasn't like a separate thing like it is now where you had to have the outdoor package. It was just kind of like on Saturday morning TV where you'd get these personalities just out hunting. And I was come fall, man, like you couldn't rip me away from that TV. I watched every deer hunting show ever, and they did look different than they look nowadays with the mobile hunting and so forth. It was very much like, oh, if I sit in a tree long enough, the deer's just going to come by. And if it doesn't, what the hell's wrong with me,
Right. And they never explained the fact that was 17 weeks of filming to get that one shot.
Oh, dude, as a 10-year-old, I had no concept of anything. Like, I was completely, like, my kid is 6, and she's way smarter than smarter than I am now. She argued against me about a song lyric for a kid song, and she was right and I was wrong. I'm like, damn it. So when I was 10, I was pretty stupid. Like, it didn't resonate to me that was the case at all. And I think the Dan Infalt stuff, that was the first time I ever heard of a tactic. Like, what do you mean there's a swamp buck and a hill country buck and a cornfield, whatever farm country buck? My dad's like, oh, there's these other ways to hunt these deer. And I was like, really? Oh, interesting, Dad. That seems kind of neat. Okay.
The tactic piece that is obviously now so popular, but like you look back at the old DVDs, we used to watch like Primetime Bucks, which was HS Strut. Those guys would go around and travel and hunt with outfitters and Realtree. We'd watch all those Monster Buck series and loved watching them. But like the whole selling point of those movies was like 35 kills, like 20 bow kills, and it was literally like the hunt starts and he's in the tree stand. And like, oh, there's a big one. And there's no backstory, like you have no idea what's happening. It was just like kill shot. And now Whitetail Adrenaline, you can sell like a 14-hour DVD. They kill like one deer and like everybody wants it because it's all tactic based and like what is actually happening. And it's kind of like what Sean was saying, like the campfire aspect, you get to see more of it. It's not just the kill. And it's just interesting how that's changed over the last 20 years, 30 years, just totally changed how these videos are produced.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that I think that people want more of is more of the real, more of the, and I've brought this up, like, I still have a YouTube channel too, and I started it based on like just sharing my general story of getting back to the outdoors. But the reason I thought it was really because I wanted to share the experience because I felt there's a lot of people out there that had the same thing as me. And I feel like when it's hunting, there's way more people that are unsuccessful and screw things up versus people that shoot monster bucks. And like even I think about this in my mind now when I do like some of my fishing stuff and in my YouTube channel, is it's less about like catching fish or killing deer or whatever it is that you want in the outdoors. I like to know why you did what you did. Whether it was the wrong thing, like if I would watch someone fish or hunt for an entire week and not catch or kill anything. But if they explained along what was happening, why they made the decisions they did to do X, Y, or Z, I find that interesting because that is giving me a database of information of, okay, so this was the situation. This is what they did. They had a justified reason. It didn't work. Or then when it does, okay, it did work. But does the same thing happen? Like, or am I just a weird analytical person that I can look at multiple things and I build that database in my head? But I love the analytical part of that, which is why, again, a 14-hour hunt where you don't kill anything, I'd still watch it if it's analytical and I can be inside your head.
Yeah, I think you get that with the Whitetail Adrenaline stuff. They were a game changer. They were someone that came on and broke the mold of what was expected. They still don't have sponsors today, and I think that's really unique. And they're not reliant upon anybody other than their listener follower base or their viewers. Where I think when it went from VHS to DVD, going back to that vein of conversation, we entered this era of like DVDs and Blu-rays were very high quality picture. Like, so then it became very cinematic. And that became a thing for a while because it looked so good to watch. And so there was a little bit more story, but it was so curated. We're like, hey, we're not just in the tree and suddenly a big buck comes, but now it's like we're seeing all this B-roll of all this over dramatized, almost like the scene. I always say the Gladiator scene where he's walking through the field, his hands in like blades of grass, and it's just this beautiful. That doesn't fucking exist, you know. We don't do that. Like you're gonna freaking put your hand across the thistle and freaking spike your hand and go, damn it, ow, oh god, you know, like you just don't do that.
But I will argue,
a mud hole.
Even if you won't do that, the feeling that you feel as a viewer watching something like that, does it not have the same feeling that you feel while you're walking through the field? Whether you're feeling the blades of grass like that, but there's still an emotion that you feel, and that visualization connects and gives you that emotional response.
Well, I think the pendulum's swinging now a little bit to like now high quality is just that now we just have it. Like we have it on our freaking iPhones.
Right.
You know? We can now do Blu-ray quality on our phone. Like I watched the Whitetail Adrenaline DVDs and I was like, ooh, the quality isn't that great. Like, and I bet you it is on the full screen. And maybe I bought a really shitty DVD player. So maybe that's my bad. Like I bought like the cheapest one Walmart had just so I could like consume the content. But it doesn't look as good as I would anticipate. Like if I turn on Hulu or Netflix or Disney, it's like you are not watching in freaking high def HD, freaking whatever it is, you know, 4K. So that part's kind of expected. So now we're kind of going back to like, well, sure, what's the real story here? What's really happening? And that's something that we tried to focus on. Like, what's really happening here? You know, what are all those stupid ass moments that, you know, you can just show because it actually happened.
You not being able to climb a tree and slipping out of it while trying to, you know, get your sticks on. Like, yeah, that's the shit I want to watch too.
Yep. Because you're like, I've done that before. Yep. I don't want to tell anybody about it, but like, or my wife gets mad because she's like, you showed our garage. I'm like, well, but that's our life.
Right.
Like hunting season comes around, the garage goes to shit and it stays that way for like 9 months. Cause then I don't clean it after hunting season. Now it's snowing and I haven't dealt with it. So now we got like a shit show of a garage for 9 months out of the year until I clean it in spring when I get a dumpster in the driveway. And that's real, Holly. That's our life. Like, of course I'm going to show our shitty garage because that's our reality. Now I'm an idiot.
You don't think there's not someone with a shittier garage or no garage?
Video, right?
Right. Like, I mean, come on. It's real life. It's the connection that we're all the same. We're all just okay. We're all just trying to do things we love and enjoy life.
Yep.
And that's
linear garage, bottom of the list.
Well, you were just talking about, Eric, with like the high quality and the cameras coming around. Like not only was like the quality getting better of cameras, obviously resolution, but like how they filmed it. I know what you're saying, like the cinematic aspect. Like all of a sudden you got like the sunlight bouncing off the gray squirrel's back as it's and like it
and
got
it's cool and it's pretty.
It got beautiful.
It went too far. Like this isn't. I'm not going to the movie theater to watch this, guys.
But
I'm
there's,
watching it,
people,
you know.
there's people who are trying to produce that kind of cinematic, like that kind of feeling to give you that, like Ritter was saying, like the walk through the field, like
Yes.
that's the goal. Whereas like we're working with Jace Marinetto, who knows absolutely what your goal is with the video. And anyone who's ever seen one of the first ones of Eric going hunting where the stick is literally about to fall off the tree and Jace like zooms in on it and Eric's like bumping it, like, and then he catches it like that was perfect. Like,
You know
for
exactly. I just described that. Eric climbing his stick falling. I literally just.
and that's exactly what happens on Eric's hunt. And it was like Jace knew to focus in on that because it was going to happen, and we've all experienced it. And it was like the most perfect scene for OKS Hunter.
That's the thing that I will say about videographers. Okay, like it is an art, and the right videographer and photographer knows
And producer.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
producer.
but
Yep.
like the person shooting it, they know exactly what to get when. Like they have an eye. They have they have a knack for getting it, and that's why when you find a person that's really good, it's damn. You know what I mean? Like it's magic.
The cinematic
Because
stuff is, I don't mean to poo-poo that too much. I think we've been there, done that now, and where we're headed. I'm trying to like forecast where are we headed next as a audience of consumers that likes to watch this content. Because on the other end of the spectrum, going back to the social media stuff you and I talked about, there's a lot of hate around like, oh, you're just making content and you're just a content person and you're just pumping this out. Like this can't be good for hunting. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I think there probably is a spectrum here, and there's one end that can be, if you go too far, bad. And then you have the other end that, like, if we do nothing, well, that's not great either, because I do want to consume this stuff. Because
Well,
when
it's
it's the off
also-
season, I need to watch some hunting content, damn it.
we as people that are doing things in and around the industry, whatever that means, like, you're still like, you're sort of a slave to the algorithm, right? Like you have to produce this stuff or you just get tossed to the waste heap. So like for anyone to be like, oh, well, you're just creating. Well, yeah, I kind of have to. If you enjoy my content and you want to see my content, I kind of got to keep creating stuff. And it's not always going to be my best, but I kind of have to keep doing things. Or the people that distribute my content are going to toss me to the waste heap, and then you're not going to see it. And you're going to be like, what the hell happened to you? Why aren't you doing anything? And it's like, no, I have. So it's a double-edged sword all the time. And I feel like you look at TikTok, right? What became fun about that, while it was, people doing funny dances in 2020, now it's the most popular stuff is just people being real as shit. You know what I mean? Like humor always wins everything, but just being real. And I think that's a part of the trend where you mentioned like the cinematic, going less away from that and more into just like the real. And I think because of our attention spans, like we're basically goldfish. 6 seconds.
We can smell
we
bullshit
that's
a
it.
mile away too. So if every shot is like the cinematic, like gloss over of the sponsorship you have to really get those brands in there because they paid for it and so forth, like maybe it's hard for me because I know how the sausage is made in the
That's
marketing
it. I
realm.
think that's a part
So
of it. I
for
think
me,
most
I'm
people
like,
don't.
I know what you're doing, and sometimes it can be done really well. And that to me is a balancing act. And that's where I think the folks like Hunt Quietly, Matt Ranella, where he's now putting a database together of influencers that suck in for lack of better terms. I know that's not literally what he's doing, but he kind of is. But basically he's saying like, hey, here's a pie chart of influencers that are actually doing good for the hunting community. And it's like basically none of them are in his eyes, with which is how he's categorized it. And so I'm actually
He's been
kind of
very
like,
vocal of that, period. Like
I
that's
don't
his
mind
that's
what
his
he's
thing.
doing. I don't mind it to a degree. I think it lacks some practicality, but it did challenge me to ask myself about the OKS Hunter brand. Like, shit, well, what are we putting out into the ethos? Are we promoting good conservation and a healthy community? I think we are.
I think you are. Yeah,
You know?
Absolutely.
We put
Like,
a lot
I'll
of
say
goofy
it.
shit out, like this dude farted in a blind. It's the scene from Step Brothers. What's the point of that, Eric? What is that doing any good? Yeah, it's making us laugh and feel good about stuff. It's relatable.
You're entertaining. You're being relatable. You're not just pushing out, look at this giant buck I shot. Everybody only shoots giant bucks,
Well, I only have one. So anytime I do it, I'm like, literally, look at the buck I shot. I'm really excited about it.
You're the luckiest damn dude in the world, period. But most people aren't that lucky. Like, we all suck. We're barely okay. And so that's the part where to me, it's the bullshit when you mention people are showing the spot. Like, when you start into the first 10 seconds, all I'm seeing sponsor crap, or you start with this and that a sponsor, I'm out. Like,
that's the bullshit meter where I'm
totally.
like, people can smell bullshit about. So if you're So that's another word, is authenticity. Are you being authentic, or are you just fucking pontificating so you can get those things? And I think, Derek, you and I reach out to Paul Poltera, if I'm saying his last name correctly or not. He agreed to be on the show. We got to find a time. He's got a new baby, so he's trying to figure that out. So, but like, I would put that dude in like an extreme category of authenticity.
Paul's he's a different kind of person on a different kind of level. I mean, with the hunting in general, but like, he has been sharing his hunting knowledge and like to intricate detail for years and years and years and years, way back to like the Hunting Beast early era. And that guy is, he's just cut from a slightly different cloth than the rest of us. And I would agree.
Like, he's never doing anything because Matthews paid him, or you know what I mean? And it's so funny because we have partners now, and some might argue like, well, Eric, aren't you doing that? But I've been doing this for 10 fucking years before we ever got a sponsor. Like, I'll be doing it for 10 more years. They come and go. It's okay.
The sponsorship game is a little weird because, like, from the outside looking in, like, the authenticity factor is huge. And like, Eric, you just know me well enough by now that like, if I don't believe in like what you stand for, like, I just am turned off to you and I just don't like you. Yeah. But like, we all know,
here,
like,
so that says something.
No, that's exactly what I'm getting at, is like, we all know the ones that, like, there's different people and companies and this and that are constantly switching sponsors and like, oh, let's do this, and it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic. You're just taking away all your credibility when you're constantly switching, because how can you truly believe in something if the next season, well, you hate it and now you've gone to the next one? But being behind the scenes and seeing how Eric makes decision, it has always come down to, well, is this like what we're trying to show? Is this like what we're standing for? And like, you ask that on every big decision. And that's the behind the scenes things that I kind of wish people got to see more, because that's why, like, I love working with you, because you just have tons of integrity and you're authentic and you really care about what you're putting out there. Like, yeah, it's funny, silly stuff, but like, your big decisions are all based on what is good for like our message, and you stand behind your message all the time. And there's so many companies and businesses that just don't give a crap and want the bottom line. Who's going to pay us more?
All right. This is behind the scenes how the sausage made a comment in a question I'm going to ask. What's the mission statement of Okayest Hunter? Do you actually have you written down a mission statement?
We do have it written down. I'm not going to get it verbatim, but it is, without going to the website to look it up. It's like making it okay for everyone to hunt how they hunt, making it more about the experience, and the experience being the trophy itself. While also not shaming people for if they are trophy hunting, so to speak. Like, it is your tag, it is your hunt. So that our mission, kind of wrapped up in a little, some freezer paper of venison for you, is that, like, you do you, and let's just try to all get along here, and remember why we're doing it. And I think we do. Most of us, by and large, do hunt for the experience. If that experience is a big 150 plus inch deer, or that experience is meat, or to hunt with someone else, or do whatever it is you're doing, like that. That's the mission. And so
what Derek just said is exactly what your mission statement is. So that should answer your question. You do everything you do, the decisions you make, the partners you make, fit that mission statement. And that's a no bullshit.
That's a hard one though sometimes, because we are also we are becoming a legit, like, we have an attorney, we have an accountant, like, we have a P&L, like, this has become a business as much as it is a hobby, albeit on the side. And businesses need money to run.
Yeah.
And so I'm at the point now where it's almost like, so you consider parenting. Like, at some point, you're just a glorified babysitter of this thing that poops and sleeps. And then eventually you have to start making decisions about their life. Like, I remember the first real parental decision I had to make with my daughter was like, she was born at a cutoff time in September of like, she's either going to be the oldest kid in her class or the youngest. What decision are we going to make? This will have an impact. Holy shit, we're parenting. Like, oh, if we bring this partner on, it's going to say this about us. They want to pay us a lot of money. Well, that's a no for me, dog, because you don't actually align with our mission and ethos, and I can't get on board. I can't make this fit. It doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense to me, it sure as shit isn't going to make sense to our audience. They're going to smell that BS a mile away, and then the whole thing's going to get ruined. So I have to turn down a whole bunch of money to make the right decision for the long term of the long-term vision of the business based on the mission. But in the short term, like, fuck, we really need that money. Like, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So I could see how some folks could be really, I don't know, like, excited about opportunities just because there's an opportunity. We've gotten to the point now where I kind of know what we have, what we're doing, what our mission is. Where I have all the patience in the world. I can do this forever, so I don't care about the money. I'd rather slow roll this thing as much as we can. And I did not intend for the conversation to go this way, guys. I don't
I was like,
like
I'm
getting
in this
compliments. It
now,
makes
though.
me
Like,
feel weird. So
if anyone's okay, I'm okay to keep steering in this direction because I've got a lot that I can add to this that I think would help a lot of people in and around that world, because everyone gets so caught up in the outdoor space. It seems lately about this whole, sponsorship, right? Like, go on Instagram. How many times you see like, oh, we're looking for pro staff this, pro staff that, all these companies, like, apply here. I'm going to straight up tell you, as a person like that fishes competitively, I have sponsors. Any of the sponsors I work with, I was a customer first. They've all reached out to me to become partnerships with them, and we communicate regularly. It's not just it's a legit partnership between us. Anyone I work with, there's so many of those companies out there that I feel are just preying on people in the outdoors. If they're going to give you a 10% discount code for you to post a bunch of crap about them, you're just another customer. You're not on a pro staff. You're not sponsored. Don't fall into that crap. Don't fall victim to those companies and those people. Like,
yeah,
that's not
a fast way to
that's not
grow.
a thing.
Like,
And I'm not saying you guys, like, as OKS Hunter,
oh, we don't
having
have
a
that. I don't
discount
care.
code that saves people money.
No, I know
But
what
there's
you're
companies
saying.
out there that would be like, oh, become part of our pro staff. We'll give
they
you a
would
10%
say-
discount.
Yeah, Eric
Then you share a
Clark.
code
Yeah.
and you get
No.
nothing in return. It's
And
like,
people
other than a
didn't
10%
realize
discount.
for a long time that pro staff meant promotional. They thought it meant professional, and like
Exactly.
yeah, so it's a whole thing. We do have a caller. Let's bring him in.
Who do we got?
Who do we got? You're live on the show. Noah, how you doing? It's been a minute since you called in. What have you been up to, buddy?
I can't hear him.
Oh, damn it. I don't know why this happens, guys. All right, well, we're not gonna take calls then. I apologize.
Sorry, Noah. Can't hear
Noah,
ya.
sorry, buddy. They can't hear you, and you can only hear me, apparently. I don't
The guy
know
that
why.
screws up
but
calendars is screwing up the audio too.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. Love you, mean it.
No idea why. I do everything the same, and sometimes that way doesn't work, and I don't know
No,
what.
technology just, it hoses us sometimes. Like, I legit had a thing when I was doing recording an episode a couple of days ago for Camp OKS, where, like, out of nowhere, like, I get this weird humming sound in my earbuds. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, I literally had to shut down my audio board and like use the mic and everything off of my MacBook for like 3 minutes while I reset and did things, and then it just all worked fine. I'm like, you've literally been working fine for 6.5 months,
If
and
you
out of nowhere,
if you don't just close your browser sometimes and refresh or restart, like, dude, shit will just get kittywampus. I have learned that is a mandatory thing. At least, like, I should do that on Mondays. But yeah, David Nowakowski, another OKS moment with the audio. Yep, we know who we are.
Well, here you go, David. Noah was calling in to tell us that he had a really funny turkey story. He ended up bagging a Tom with 8-inch beard, but there were some funny misses in there, I'm guessing. And then he's been working on his food plot. Probably had an OKS moment with a tractor or a 4-wheeler. Just guessing. That's what Noah had.
Sounds like you might have been talking to Noah.
I was just gonna say, you've got some inside info here, Derek. You know what's up.
Well, I just made that up knowing Noah.
Oddly specific, regardless. I like this chat so far. So the deer hunting stuff, I don't know, we're all over the map here. So I like the stories of the content and the videos what we're watching. And by the way, to the whole OKest show or whatever, Jace, our producer and videographer. We also have another one. Keegan Kettle is one of our videographers, and Cameron Namella is another cameraman we had out with us. So we had 3 of them. But essentially, Jace, he has the vision. He knows what we're trying to do. He understands it. So when he puts the pieces together, he can ensure that it matches that. When he's also then out filming, he knows exactly how to put it together because of what he's looking for. If we didn't have that vision part and that producer, I don't know, we would just get a bunch of stuff that did what it did. But he gave the other guys, Keegan and Cam, like the gist of what we're looking for and the blueprint. But he's working on it this month, over the month of May, and anticipates to have our season 2 done. And then we're going to sit on it and tease it out and then launch in like probably September. So
Great
last time
idea.
we launched in March, and I think that was a terrible time to launch deer hunting stuff.
I mean, I get the concept. You're like, oh, people aren't thinking about it. Let's give them something that they might want when they're not thinking about it. But
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're also not searching for it at the same time. And again, this goes back to being the slave to the algorithm, where sometimes us people that create content for each other, we kind of got to create and do things. And what we do is might not always be the best timing or the best content, but we still kind of have to keep creating it. And it's not that we have to it's a chore. Like I enjoy creating, which is the whole reason I started Campo Chaos. Like I needed another creative outlet. I've been missing kind of that campfire chats portion of things in my life,
Yeah.
and getting to share stories with people and do things like this. And so it was kind of like, all right, I'm ready to get back on that horse and do those things, and excited to share more stories and let other people share their stories. And that's the other thing I'm really going to start doing going forward, is inviting everyone and anyone to come on. If you've got a fun story to tell, come with the campfire. Let's just chit chat and share stories, because that's what it's all about. We're all just okay. This is not like, I don't intend ever to be something of like, we're better than or any. No, like let's bullshit and talk about the crazy misses. And I talk about this stuff all the time on the show. Greg and I were talking about this past bow season about the stupid misses and just like then stupid moments. Like, and we've all had those. Everyone can relate to it. I've got a giant 10-point buck that I encountered 7 freaking times this fall. Is he dead? Nope.
He's pretty
You
stupid.
know why?
You got him 10 times.
Well, like when I say encounter, like I've had him, I'm watching him run 50 yards for me, or he comes this way and I'm out of position and I don't want to tip him off. And I'm like, I'm waiting. Okay. He's chasing a doe. Like there was twice he was literally chased a doe right past me, like full speed. I'm like, you can't do anything there. Just let him run. Eventually they'll come back through. Hopefully. The last time that I had, that deer should have been dead. He literally came like 8 yards off my right-hand side. My bow's off to the left because I'm a righty. So I do the reach back, grab the bow, and I couldn't quite get it off the hanger. And by the time I get to here, we're eye to eye and staring at each other.
Oh,
and in that moment, I'm like, don't move. I just
It doesn't matter. It's already game over. So it's
it was game over, but
nothing you can do.
I said this to Greg. This was the part, this is where, to me, bow hunting is so romantic and fun. And I've never, I'm an adult on-scent deer hunter. I've told the story in Campo Chaos and other places. I'm a huge angler. I fish kayak tournaments. That's I'm a big fishing guy. But I really got into bow hunting a couple years ago. I've been a huge waterfowler forever. And waterfowling and bow hunting are the same time. Where I grew up in Green Bay and in the Bay and big water and diver ducks, I was always like, deer hunting takes up time from duck hunting. But I found bow hunting to become even more romantic than that. And it's those moments where I'm locked that close to that giant of a deer. We are looking at each other. He's going, you almost bested me. And I'm going, I almost bested you. But I'm also looking at him going, you are a goddamn beautiful specimen. And I'm just going to enjoy this moment that we're sharing together in nature. And we're both going to go our separate ways. And to me, that was better than even shooting that deer. Like that. That's the romanticism that I enjoy. Maybe I'm that's where the purest big.
I would have cried, but I think you have a healthy. Yeah, you're like a real Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius's brother, or not brother, but Marcus Aurelius was adopted and then became emperor. But then Commodus was he should have been the true emperor. And Marcus said, you're gonna be my co-emperor, because mainly he was trying to make sure they weren't gonna have a civil war, because if he rose to power, it was gonna be overthrown. It would have been a problem. So he had to pander to his ego. But in Meditations, Marcus said nothing bad about him ever, even though he was a total piece of shit in everyone else's account. And he had said, no, I was just happy to have a brother and happy to have someone that could challenge me to be a better person. Really cool disposition. You have this disposition of I could be all pissy and moany about how bad I am at hunting and I missed an opportunity on this big buck, but instead you're oh, I'm going to appreciate the moment and the experience that this buck gave me. I just compared you to Marcus Aurelius. That's a pretty high compliment.
I mean, how lucky was I to even be in that situation? The fact that I got that deer that close to me after having seen that same deer how many times, that to me is the win. That's the success. I'm never the person that counts kill. You know what I mean? It's not about the kill. It's not about the kill. It's about the experience in what it means. And that's where, I said, the romanticism, I keep using that word, but when you're talking about the cinematic stuff, the films of, going out and blades of grass, it creates that emotion.
Yeah, romanticism
and, to me,
and intimacy doesn't always have to mean
is the emotion.
Yep. Derek, you've had a lot of close.
Or am I just a weird ass?
Well, I'm going to ask Derek because Derek's.
I I had almost the same situation as you just talked about, Sean, where I was hunting this buck. Would have been my biggest public land buck I ever took, and a lot of what I do in the deer woods is stupid, like in the sense that I tend to make things more difficult than they need to be, because I find where, like, you were just describing how having the encounter is like what you were going for. Like, I'm all about like kind of the adventure and like the chess game in my mind. So
Yeah.
I'd rather go in like to a spot I've never been to in the dark, set up, like make it freaking difficult, and then see how close I was. And I had that happen this past fall in October, morning hunt. And I had this buck that I was hunting. It was the biggest one I had on camera in this public spot. And he walked 6 yards from my tree. I mean, right underneath me. And I did not get a shot. But, sitting there, I was pissed because I know how rare those opportunities are. So, like, I am kicking myself. I'm not as happy about it as you are. But in the back of my mind, and what I kept thinking about was I had like one shooting lane in this tree that I picked in the dark, and he was in it. And I picked the right freaking spot. Like, I gave myself a little pat on the back and was like, you know what? That was pretty awesome to have that deer of that caliber that close. Didn't make it happen, but man, you got to walk out with a little bit of a smile on your face, just thinking, I played my cards right. I just didn't have that last piece of it. And
No,
yeah, I guess
you nailed it. You're totally
overall,
right.
I was happy. Yeah,
And that
Still
was
tough.
like one of
I
my
wanted to get him.
my best day out this past fall. So it was like right around that, like when everyone kind of does that rutcation time around like Halloween. I'm trying to remember the exact date of it, but I remember I went out Friday after I got done with my normal everyday job thing, the one you do for insurance and whatnot. But I got done at like 7 a.m. and I got out in the woods at like 8:30, right? And I'm walking out, and it was kind of going to be like a scouting for the next day, but yet I was going to hunt a little bit. So like I got in and kind of like slowly scouted my way into a spot where I thought like would be where there's a lot of movement, a lot of deer kind of cross through and some stuff. And I get set up, climb a tree, and I get set up, and I'm there for like an hour and a half. And next thing you know, some dude comes walking in, climbs freaking 60 yards from me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, obviously doesn't see, doesn't care. I don't know what's public land. It is what it is. I don't own it. We're in it together. I don't need this. I'm just going to step out. I walked out. I'm going to scout down some other stuff. And I found this giant freaking scrape, like right just off of a field edge, right in like a real narrow pinch, like going out into this field. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Let's just sit here for shits and see. Like, I didn't think I was going to see anything. So I set up there, but I kind of got a feel for how things were. And the more I could see and just generally feel things out, I then go out the next day and go like between the two areas that I was on that Friday and just randomly pick this random spot that wasn't far for actually where I shot and lost another big buck the year before. I'm just like the worst hunter in the world. And I get set up, and it wasn't even 30 minutes and I'm standing in the tree. Like I hadn't even set up all my stuff. I just put my strapper on the tree. I didn't even pull my backpack up. My backpack and my bow are still on the ground. And a giant comes running down the ridge top. You just hear him breathing. And he's freaking right below me. And I'm literally hugging the tree. Don't move, don't move. And there's my bow and backpack just sitting on the ground. And I'm like, this
All
is
I can think of in that
insane.
moment is how can I make this happen?
And then
but
he
I know
finally
I
like
can't.
walks off. Well, and it's in the dark, so it wasn't shooting light.
Yeah,
But it was
yeah.
so crazy to be like, holy shit, like this is happening right now. And so I quick get myself up, get set up. And then like 20 minutes after shooting light, this other 8-pointer comes like running past at full speed. It was like, that was apparently the day where like the rut was on. They were chasing like crazy. But the spot that I picked, I encountered that giant 10 twice that morning, just full tilt running. There was an 8-pointer. I know I had two 8-pointers in the Facebook line. One of them was like a really tight, like thick rack. And the other was like a big, like wide and thin, skinny, tall rack. They're like like they're very distinguishable deer. I saw each of those. I then had a 6-pointer come walk up to me at 35 yards and lay down next to a down tree.
That's
So like
cool.
that
Great
day,
in
I was
deer
like,
woods when you have
holy
this kind of
shit, like I
activity,
was
man,
on the X. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
so
never
exciting.
even had the point where like I grabbed my bow to shoot. I was thinking about that 6-pointer for a second, but after you've already seen those other 8s, you're like, I can't quite yet. You know what I mean?
They might
But
come back.
just to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and I think
Or
those
anything could show
experiences,
up.
yeah, that's why I think I have that mindset where I'm okay to just celebrate those small victories. It's not a kill, but having the encounter is just as good for me. And I guess maybe I'm not feeding I'm not relying on killing a deer to feed my family.
I've
Thank
always
God.
said since I started hunting, going hunting is that's the thing. Just simply going is in and of itself worth it all by itself. Then if I see a deer, it's bonus because like shit, I suck at even seeing deer, getting in the right area or the right spot and all that stuff, like putting that together. So just that affirmation piece is a big bonus. Getting a shot at one or taking one is bonus on bonus. Like the whole situation is a bonus. Being able to hunt is a bonus. Seeing a deer is a bonus on top of a bonus. Getting one or an opportune one is a triple bonus. Like that's in my mind how I think about it. I've always thought about it that way, and I try to stay humble. I have gotten better in the deer woods. I feel like I put myself on the X more and more frequently over the last probably 3 years. I'm getting better at reading sign and reading situations and land and so forth, and finding good access points and reading wind and all that. But to me, just what I've really enjoyed is the water access. That little like small journey to the woods is so peaceful. Paddling in, like it just
I'm
just
gonna
that
play
in
with
of itself,
more.
like I
You've
love it.
inspired me, by the way. You've inspired me I'm gonna play with more of that this year.
But you
can
have a
haven't.
kayak, yeah,
You can
Yeah,
troll
and
on
I've
your way
got
to the stand.
right.
yeah, I mean I've got the kayak, I've got the abilities. I've just never done it, but I'm gonna play with that a little more this year because I
I'm
think
also looking
that
for a
could
really
be.
easy drag out. Like if I could just put a buck in a canoe, done. Like I don't have to work that hard.
Depends where you put that canoe, Eric.
Yeah, that's true. There's been some interesting spots.
Um, obviously, everything you guys just mentioned is all about your mindset and how you look at it when you're done with it, right? Because somebody could experience the same thing and be hooting and hollering, pissed off about blown chances and blown experience. But I think what you guys are all describing is just having a positive attitude about it, and looking at what you did and what you maybe could have done. And I think that the growth mindset and thinking like taking every experience, not only of yours, but like of your buddies or of your, whoever that hunts that's telling you stories, and looking for that like educational piece, that piece that like, what can I take from this that's going to help? That's where I like, if I learned something and saw no deer, but I maybe have an idea why, because the wind ended up doing this in this spot instead of that, or like I shouldn't have come in this way because I think I might have got a little too close. If I can pull some little nugget, like that's an absolute success. Like whether you saw something, you didn't see something, you killed. If you can really like, I don't know, I guess that's part of like the education
You
system.
start to make new mistakes. So
Yeah.
like an anecdote from last season when I had a shot, or well, I didn't, but I could have had a shot. I mean, I was within range. Had I played my cards right, I could have.
Was that one of
gone
your
back.
early swamp, like your swamp punts, one of your early like swamp buck things that I heard you guys talking about on the show?
Probably. I mean, it was last season. I canoed out to a property. I got on the first sit a shot at a 8-pointer, missed, clean miss.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay.
Then I got back up, and then a bigger guy came up. But what I failed to pay attention to on the onset of like even getting out there, and after I had taken a missed shot, it should have been even more obvious where the deer were going to be coming from. And based on the way that property was set up, it should have been very obvious to me, but I was too busy dissecting other things. And I dissected enough to put myself in the right spot. I wasn't facing the right way in the tree based on where the deer were going to be coming from. I had seen some sign and signal, and I got too focused on looking towards my to the east when I should have been looking towards the west and been prepared to shoot towards the west with concealment of the tree itself. And that is what effed me on the big guy. And because I already had messed up on the smaller guy, I shot towards the east, thinking like another one might follow the same path and get to the same point. And I didn't consider that a bigger one was going to be so much wiser and peg me before he got to the point as the 8 did. And so
you were in a saddle for that, right?
I was in a saddle. So lots of shot placement, lots of maneuverability. But I went to adjust my my sight. I just made a small movement to adjust my sight, and he picked me when I did that, but just barely, and it was enough that he was behind a bush, and we have told the story like several times now. So he eventually just backed away and never saw him again. That's not true. I saw him again on the opposite end of on the property from the ground when Derek and Greg told me to get down from a tree. that was one of those like I'm gonna be damned if I do, damned if I don't choices. Like if I wouldn't have, it wouldn't have worked out. If I did, it wouldn't have worked out, and that's how it worked out. I got down, it didn't work out. I've stayed. Who effing knows? But I had another shot at him, and I totally freaking botched that. And it was at last light, so it was like not a great scenario from the ground. He was tailing a doe, and I was like, oh my god, it's him. And
Target panic.
I didn't know
all
what to
those
do. I
things.
needed to stop him because he was getting too far. I didn't have him range right because I wasn't again anticipating something. It was the last possible like 2 minutes of the day. So I was like, what do I do? And I just started breaking branches to make it seem like I was another deer. And I scared the shit out of him and he ran away. And it
Well,
didn't work at all.
You talk
And
about
I was like,
lessons,
well, that
the
was it.
lessons
But yeah,
learned.
yeah.
You learned lessons from that, right?
A bunch of lessons.
That
Yep.
hunt that I described of me with, when I had that big one, the last time I saw him, I should have killed him. We were eye to eye. That was the hunt that made me decide I'm buying a saddle. I've got the Latitude Method 2. I've got the Latitude sticks. Like I went full on committing the saddle on that because I realized in that moment, I'm like, if I would have been in a saddle, the way I would have been positioned, it would have been a benefit against the tree. There wouldn't have been the problem of having to reach behind and grab a bow. It's now in front of me and just and I can lean out, and I would have had the tree involved in my lean out. Like there was those little things that I dissected in that moment I took away from it. I was like, you know what? I need to make sure that I have both of these options because a lot of these places I found myself hunting in would actually be better in a saddle than in a hang on. And I still have both. Like I've got my Hawk hang on and the sticks, plus then I've got my full Latitude set up and whatever. And
Having
I
the
will hunt out
right
of
tool
both.
for the job is the quintessence of the message here.
Yeah.
Like
And
that's just it. Yep. It's not one isn't better than the other. One might be better than the other in a certain situation.
Yep.
Which Derek learned too. He had the opposite. He was in a saddle and probably would have been better off in a hang on. Like, where I hunted on my uncle's property, I got to get on my uncle's lease for the first time in like 10 years. He had a fixed stand that he had put up, and I remember going with my dad, and he put me in a spot, and I was like, well, it's actually kind of nice to take a break from the saddle and just sit here. This is kind of, it just felt different. But that worked for that spot. A saddle wouldn't have worked for that at all. Like it wasn't even an option.
I don't know, but I think a saddle's way more comfortable now. That method too. And I know you've got the back strap. I don't have the back strap, but like the way that I can like adjust it, the kind of the 2-panel. Like
Yeah.
it's so chill. And like you can put the knees in and just like chill out or just like lean. Big fan. I'm not trying to sell it. Like you hunt your hunt, but
I am a big. If it wasn't a 2-piece system, I would hate it because I just feel like I'm wearing a diaper and I have to pull it down and it doesn't work and it doesn't make sense. So
The
I just got
2-piece,
sick of all the
2-piece is the way to go. For sure. Otherwise, like I've got the regular, Latitude saddle, and I ended up just buying like a cheap padded gunsling, like for a couple
damn,
bucks. Farm, tied a couple Prusik knots, and that's my my back support now. So a $2.99 back support, and that's working better. But the 2-panel, like Eric and Greg's, is and what you got rid of, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I would say for the money, don't buy the single panel. Buy that Method 2. That is a freaking awesome, comfortable saddle. I know,
that was a big change in my mobile setup last year. Was the Method sticks. I got a different platform. You and I, Derek, we swapped platforms. I meant to give you the Method or the X-Wing, and I was like, I'm gonna use this myself. I felt weird doing that to you, but
I still want to try it though because I want to see if I want to get one.
So
I just needed something that fit my pack. But you and I, yeah, look at that. We have I don't use their strapping method. I use something from Good Sit Mobile that's like a little bungee cord, and it's way better.
See, I'm okay with this. The way that I strap things onto my pack and everything, I've used it and it works great. I still got to I want to get at least some of their loops and stuff. They were out of stock of them at the time when I ordered these. And actually, even I didn't order their sets of the stealth strips. This was a roll on that website that is the devil, so to speak. Starts with an A. But I like cut it in like the perfect, and it's the exact same thing. So,
Nice.
if you look at it, it's a different camo pattern. I liked this. It kind of fits a lot of what I hunt better. But yeah, I do like this year they came out. I was planning on I was going to do like go to a hardware store before this year and buy the stuff you put on ladders, like the grip tape. But now you see that Latitude legit came out with it's like a grip tape, but it looks like Capo Map and it glows. So like while I was going to do that, I think I might actually just order the grip tape glow ones because it would be kind of cool to have that glow when climbing up. But yeah, I only do the 3 sticks too. Do you do the 4 or the?
I
do you
do 3, but I might get a 4th. But I also have the 8er hanging on.
see? I
At
have
least on
one.
the bottom step.
I have one 8er I put on my first step,
Mhm.
and then I kind of do the thing you shouldn't do that I might climb a little bit higher with my next step than I should. But I can grab the tree lineman and pull myself up a little bit just on that next step. So I kind of stretch myself a little bit. But
I
these
definitely do
things.
that. Where I tell myself that, well, because it's only the first 2 steps, I can spread them out really far because I'm low to the ground. It's good. It's good.
Right,
I'm
if
gonna
anything
bail.
happens,
I'm
it-
gonna biff.
between my 3rd step and my platform, that one I'm going to be a little closer on. But
Yes, you
Yeah,
got
that
it.
one I get maybe too close sometimes. Like I probably should have spaced this out more. Like this is now an awkward. Like I've made it awkward for me to get in. I could have stretched this out more.
yeah,
But
these
yeah,
things
three
too.
3 high is good for
Not to turn into like a Latitude commercial, but being that like again, I've got the Hawk sticks and other stuff, and I've seen other sticks. Seriously, these things are so freaking light. Game changer.
because Derek, you're using the Lone Wolf custom gear, the 2 double wides, the 14s, and then they're
Yeah, I've had the double steps for quite a couple years now, and I've loved them. I really liked them, but I found myself using the carbon speed sticks almost the entire season just because they
They're
were
so
way
cushy.
nicer than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
They were way nicer than I thought they were going to be, and I really like them a lot. Those are my go-tos right now.
And
Yeah.
again, I didn't get them given to me. I bought them. Like I legit bought them, and I made sure to tell them it was because of you guys, because of OKS Hunter, and you guys using them and showing me. Like,
Well, it
legit
was hard
after I-
last year too because it took a long time for those to hit to market because
Yeah.
they had some supply chain things and hiccups. So I felt bad because they were really working hard to navigate that. And it's like we finally got these sticks out, and shit, we can't sell them because we don't like people were getting pissed. Like
Yeah, that
which
was
is
the whole thing.
it's a whole, but there's always a whole thing. There's gonna be another thing this year with some other brand. I'm sure there's always something people are gonna bitch about, and I get it. Like they pre-ordered, people wanted their stuff before season. I understand the animosity and the frustration, but also like give some people some credit. These are just dudes in Michigan building a company trying to do something. So
right.
I know that there's, with great whatever comes great responsibility. Like they owe the people the product so they can do their stuff, but it all worked out. Everyone got their sticks, and I think the product's so damn good that it was worth the wait.
Every
because
company is expected to be Amazon. You're expected
it's so hard.
to deliver tomorrow and be free shipping and be cheap and
We get that on our hats. People are like, I'm not paying $30 for a hat. $5. I'm like, $5. That's we can't get them made for $5.
We
You know
talked
what I
about
mean?
these.
Those
Right? Like, we talked about
like the
these
cost on those
koozies.
is expensive, dude. We have a guy in Oregon hand sewing those things. Like it is what it is.
Great.
Like, things cost money.
Freaking koozie I've ever owned. You know why? Because we're all in the Midwest. Like we're all in the upper Midwest. What's the one thing about drinking a beer when you want to drink a beer? It's fall, right? It's cold. You're outside. You just got done with a hunt or whatever. Freaking everything's cold. Your beer's cold. You know what? When you put it in this, your hand stays warm, but your beer stays cold. These
Which
are
would be true
freaking
of any
amazing.
koozie,
And
I
then-
imagine, but it's just got a cooler feel to it.
No, like those crappy neoprene ones, they don't do the same. They get wet and soggy, and there's something about this freaking flannel that these are amazing.
When you finish your beer out by the campfire and you haven't yet gone to get another one because your buddy's telling a story, but your hands are getting cold, it also makes a little flannel pocket to keep your hand warm.
Oh snap!
I'm
gonna keep this- I'm
you got a
it's gonna-
plaid brass knuckle ready. to
I've
pop
actually
on.
done that once before.
This is gonna be. I'm gonna keep one of these in each of my pockets out in the tree stand. This will be my
Why are you
extra
double
glove.
fisting all the time, Ritter?
You
Well,
put
I
a little
give you my
hot hands
gloves.
in there.
Yeah.
It's like a Christmas muffin, man. Beautiful.
Oh, that's great. I thank you for that. That's awesome. No,
I realize
yeah.
that it seems like this has turned into a commercial for things. It's not. This is my point of like authentic, like advertising, so to speak, versus bullshit. And
Well, that is the intention. Like we obviously will talk about Spartan Forge and we'll talk about Rack Hub and so forth and all these other brands that we work with because we genuinely like and use them, and it's pretty native and organic for that stuff to come up in conversation.
the other point that I wanted to circle back to, and I think it wraps up a lot of what we've talked about this entire evening, was when we were talking about, you mentioned my attitude of that hunt, right? And how some people will be like pissed off and stomping mad because they had the great encounter, but they didn't kill the deer, right? Do you think that social media content creators some play a part into people having that feeling instead of just enjoying the moment, that you're
Yeah.
surrounded all the time by so much, and not by everybody, but by some things that make you feel like unless you are successful, we'll call it, unless
We
you,
have the Rut
you know what I mean?
Report here in Wisconsin. We have the Rut Report here in Wisconsin as a Facebook group page. Great page. They require you when you post to say like what county you got it in and method. That thing starts freaking dinging every day with what seems like hundreds of photos of beautiful bucks, and you're like, you start to get this FOMO thing going on.
Mhm.
This happens with morel mushrooms. This happens with turkey, with deer. I
Right?
mean, it doesn't really matter.
That's what I'm saying.
You
This
start
isn't
to feel, yeah, you
this
start to
isn't
feel like you're
exclusive.
missing out, and that like
It's
you have this pressure to perform because they did. And for us as content creators, Mark Kenyon talked about this when we were on Wired to Hunt's podcast. He felt this greater pressure because of who he is in the industry, that like if he's not killing a deer, then why does he have a platform? So he felt a greater sense of pressure to produce and do that. And to the tune of like and that's why he invited us on the show, to like deflate that for him a little bit and affirm and like gut check, why
You
am
see,
I doing this?
I would
Um,
argue that he would do it to share the story and to be relatable and be a companion to others. That's why you do it. It's not to
But it creeps into your
show
mind.
off.
Like the 8-pointer above me that you can't see in for out of frame was the deer I shot with my rifle last season. And on the heels of having an opportunity at 150 with my bow, I put gun and bow in two very different categories of like a hunt. Like they're two different books on the same topic as far as I'm concerned. But right when I was going to shoot him, I was like, he's a yearling. Like, do I really need to be shooting this deer? And there was a doe with him, but I didn't see the doe until after I took the shot on the buck. And I was so dead set on. I was like, I just want to freaking kill something. I want some meat in my freezer. My daughter's been hounding me like I'm going to take something down. I don't care what it is. I want to. This is my spot that I've come to. This spot is like really important to me. It means a lot. I've been hunting for a decade. Now my best friends are here and my dad's here. Like, I don't know how many more of these hunts we even have together before people start doing stuff with their kids or they can't make it or whatever. And so I wanted to shoot the deer. So I shot it. But even me being who I am, doing what I do, had the damn thought. And it took me a second to be like, the fuck are you talking about? Shoot the fucking deer. Like, that's the deer you want to shoot? Shoot it. What are you talking about, Eric? This is like the start. So I was like having a full-on conversation in my mind between myself and my other self. It was the
It's a
dumbest
sign of
thing in the world.
intelligence. Sign of intelligence when you talk to yourself. What I
I
tell
had
myself.
the opposite thing happen though, Eric. I had the absolute opposite thing happen, and I think it came down to like practicing what we preach or practicing what you started basically. But like I probably wouldn't have done it if I wasn't associated with what you guys are doing here. But 2 years ago, I shot that big one in Illinois. It was one of the cooler bow hunts I've ever done. Shot my biggest buck ever. Really beautiful deer. And then a week and a half later, Wisconsin gun season opened, and I shot like a dink of a 2-year-old. It was like like a 6-pointer, no brow tines. And I was like more excited for that deer than I was for the big one almost. Like I was with my dad, and it just like,
So no, that's not the opposite. That's
it was like a practice what you're like, you had like second guesses, but like it made me want to like do that experience and have that, no matter what the end result was, to have that experience with my dad and like call him and be like, turn the truck around. You just dropped me off, but we got dragons to do.
Like we got one, man. Like
So it's still,
no more dry spell, like all that stuff. And but so then too, my tag, my hunt, yada yada yada. Like I had some goals with my bow hunting stuff. I had a fucking like a literal spike. Read the script, man. And I was like, oh yeah, there's a buck coming. He's reading the script. Like I set it up perfectly, and I got it all on film from my GoPro. He's like 5 yards from me, at the base of my tree. I could have killed him. But I watched him the whole time, and he kind of eventually figured out that I was there. And he wasn't really sure what was going on. And that was a great moment. And that was one of the first moments I like passed, on something, because I knew what I was trying to do that season. I was like, no, I know that I'm playing a different game right now, and I'm going to try something different. I'm going to pass on this deer. But boy, oh boy, did he get my adrenaline going. Like I was like, you know what? Maybe I will kill you. Like you're going to keep lingering around here. I'm going to let you have it. But
you're always going to have those thoughts. Like I said, that 6-pointer from that one day when I was like, maybe if you decide to stand up and come close, I might just get like trigger itchy enough on
Jared
that.
Scheffler said on Whitetail Adrenaline, the last DVD from last year's, he said, if the hunt gets me excited, I will kill the deer. If the
Yeah,
hunt
that's
gets me
good.
excited. And he said that, and he wasn't trying to say anything philosophical. He was talking to his videographer, and his videographer's like, "Are you gonna if you see a big enough one, are you gonna kill it?" And he's like, "No, if the hunt gets me excited enough, I'm gonna kill it." Had nothing to do with the antler size. It had everything to do with how he felt about the experience he was engaged in at the moment. And because they do all the ground hunt and it's all like literally adrenaline, and it's like, yeah, if you feel that jacked up and you're freaking killing it. And because it's not about that, you know? So, I mean, yeah, that little one could have gotten it because he got me all jazzed up and shaking like a leaf for a little bit there because I was like, this is going to happen, you know?
Listen, a win is a win, whether you beat the number 1 team in the league or you beat the worst team in the league. A win is still a win, right? So whether you kill a giant buck or you
Yeah,
kill
yeah, kind
a
of.
little fawn doe, a win is still a win, right?
I would say it's still meat in the freezer, but there is,
I'm boiling it down, trying to put it sports terms
I
to like
appreciate it.
put. I think that's the perspective that I think a lot of times people miss out on is that
Yeah.
perspective of, like you said, it's about the hunt, it's about the general experience, and what do you consider success? Everyone's got a different definition of success. You know, is success that it was something that was so fun and amazing, you have stories to tell around camp forever? You know, like even misses and non-shots, look what we've all shared this evening.
Here's what's really
Those are
cool.
all successes to me.
So
Absolutely.
when I wrote an article about like his ego, or what did I say? Obviously I talk a lot about ego, but I think it was like, do we have an identity crisis as a hunting community?
Oh, yeah, I
Because we're
remember it was a great article.
tying
Great
our
job.
identity to external things. And what I mean by that is external are like trucks, bows, brands, achievements, tying your identity to internal things, being a good human, treating others kindly and fairly, and enjoying the moment. Those are intrinsic things that I think, we're gonna get more fulfillment on. But nonetheless, the whole point was like, I was getting rid of my truck because we're a single income family. Life is hard, inflation, blah, 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 blah. And I was like having this battle of like, I don't want to get rid of my truck. My identity is part of this truck. I'm a hunter. You know, what am I we're gonna put a deer, all this stuff. And so I did it, and because I thought it was better for the greater good of our family for the next couple of years, to not have this big payment and so forth. So I got this dinky little car that my kids now call Bluey. It's a little Ford Fusion,
Love it.
and I pull up, and my kids were so jacked about it. They didn't even remember that I had a truck. They're now like, "That's the coolest car ever, Dad. It looks like Bluey." And so when I got a little deer or a big deer, my kids are just like, "You got a deer." They don't care about the size of the deer. They just care that I got one. Again, and that my kids have done such a good job of like setting shit straight for me about what is actually important. Like the fact that I get to have them come out or like look at it in the well, not in the truck anymore, the car, and like they eat venison, they get so jazzed about it. Like that's way more important. So if I didn't kill that deer last year with my gun, I wouldn't have had that memory with my kids. And it would have been a fine deer cam. It would have been fine. But I would have been shooting myself in the foot, like going, man, I should have shot that thing. What was I thinking? You know, what the hell's wrong with me?
If you had a truck, you'd have shot a bigger one.
Oh,
Probably.
No, but
I
like
don't know.
you're right. Like I don't know why we've got tied into that. You know, I didn't actually have my first full-size truck until a little over a year ago. Like I've
Yep.
had smaller
I
trucks.
still
I've had
badly
small
want it back.
SUVs.
But like it does hurt me. Like my ego. It hurts.
Yeah,
I want a
but
truck
is it
again.
ego?
But whatever.
Like at the end of the
I don't
day, when you go
yeah,
to the
for me
gas
it is,
pump and you
but
fill up and it's not $130, it's got to feel pretty damn good.
yeah,
Like
it's
there's
like
times where it's a little
20
painful
bucks.
for me. You know, when
Yeah.
you go and you're like, it was like I was having a conversation. Someone, it was a couple months ago. They were like, "Well, what is it?" You know, someone like filling up tanks. Like, "Oh, what? It's probably like $70 to fill up your tank." And I was like, "Oh, you're adorable. 70. I wish it was 70 to fill that 36-gallon tank."
5 years
Well,
ago.
right. Go back to math class. Meanwhile, I'm going to drive 6 hours somewhere to go fish for a weekend and come back. It's going to, I'll burn a tank and a half there. Start doing the math on that. And you know what? I didn't cash a check,
I didn't
the
win the
check wouldn't
tourney.
have covered the gas anyway.
Right.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, pondering all that stuff. I don't know what I'm gonna call this week's episode, but there's something here with like doing the right thing for the right reasons.
That's,
You
I
know,
think, it.
whatever that
It's-
means to you.
Yeah.
Whether that's producing content, filling a tag, driving whatever you're driving, shooting whatever you're shooting.
Being a
Do the
parent,
things
being a
that
human.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anytime someone's, I think when COVID happened, I remember reading Stoicism, of course. That's when I got pretty involved in it, and I was like, "What happened when they went through this?" Because they did in Rome. There was it wasn't the bubonic plague. I forget what it was called. It was a plague that no one would actually remember, but it was similar. And they did social distancing back then, believe it or not. But the quintessence of what I read was when shit gets this bad, there's a great opportunity to do the most good. So rather than be shitty to people, there's an opportunity to be good to people. And so this is an election year. There's going to be animosity just in the general ethos of the world, whether on social or in real life. We as deer hunters, there's people coming for our stuff in Colorado. We're fighting over this. We're fighting over that. Like there's an opportunity when things are bad to do good. And so that's how I want to carry this brand forth and what we do. And I think the people that we have rolling with us on the network all embody that really deeply. So I'm
And I
proud to be
think-
working with guys like you and Levi and the OKS Cook and everybody else on the network. The OKS Fisher guys, Matt. I don't want to leave anyone out because I don't want someone to listen and be like, "The fuck, you didn't mention me." But like I couldn't name my 8 groomsmen if you asked me right now, but I know who they all
Except
were.
Levi, the Western guy, doesn't know Tony Bourdain. I'm not mentioning him. Which, by the way, Paul from from Turkey Season, like literally chimed to the chat. It popped up on my watch here. It came up, and he was like, "I know who Tony Bourdain is." So just wanted to point out somebody else knew.
Oh man, but does he know who Brooke Burke is? Like that's the real question.
Who doesn't know who Brooke Burke is? I'm just saying.
Where is she now? Where is she
Put up
now?
a
You know,
picture
like
quick with me.
You know, I don't know where she is. Did she do Dancing with the Stars
Dude,
or some
she
shit? Was that the
wasn't
last
young.
time?
She wasn't young when she was doing that show. Like she wasn't young, but maybe I feel
All
like
right, I'm gonna check.
when I
I'm
was
on her
18
Wikipedia right now.
or 17 or 16, she was probably like 28 doing that show, is what I thought.
Well, she was born. She's 52 right now. She was born
52?
September 8th, 1971.
Jeez, yeah.
So yeah, Wild On.
That
She
was
did
it.
Dancing with the Stars. Oh, I nailed it. I knew she did Dancing with
Wow.
Stars. 2005.
You probably had her on your radio show when you were doing the country show or something.
I can't
You
confirm
probably-
or deny anything. The past life that I can't talk about, I've been contracted to not mention it. No, I'm kidding, but no, she's the so what's she doing? Oh, fitness app. That's where she's a big fitness person. She's got a fitness app.
Shocker, because she was super
Brooke
fit.
Brooke Burke Body, a fitness app and workout featuring videos of her. So there we go, Eric. I found your next thing. Ditch
Hey,
the,
honey, I think
mountain
I found a
ops.
new workout regimen we're gonna
Yeah. If you thought that Kendall on Peloton was your thing, you got Brooke Burke's body workouts.
do. Oh man, I'm really getting fit, guys. Let me tell you. Well, hopefully everyone, if anyone has questions about their hunting setup, you can ask us for all the wrong answers, and we'll help steer you a little bit. You know,
Hunting setup wise, anybody who's local or within driving distance at Foam Fest that we talked about earlier, Greg, Eric, myself, we bring all of our setups. I'll bring all the Lone Wolf stuff, bring the Latitude stuff, of course, and we set it all up. You can try out saddles, try out tree stands, shoot from it. I think that's one of the really cool things about the shoot is Greg does an awesome job kind of giving some saddle tutorials, and he'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through it if I'm not being dragged through the woods by the kids. And
yeah, we'll bring some muck boots for people to try on, and the whole nine. We can't shoot nozzle or ammunition there.
we're gonna have Brooke Burke body workouts going
Yeah,
on.
I was just gonna say, I'll bring my setups. I'll bring the Brooke Burke body workout. We'll go to town, and you know,
Pilates balls.
But really
That's
though,
great.
like that's the thing maybe to cover on a show upcoming, and I know that I intend to talk about it on Camp Okayist, is the functional fitness in the outdoors. You know, and this is something that like legitimately I'm going to be doing like an instructional clinic.
We should have
at a
Bo
gym about
Bilo.
that.
You should have Bo Bilo on the show, Derek's buddy who runs Ghost Bucks YouTube channel. Derek, so watch this. This is my right arm. I mean, it's not great, but this is my left arm. It's stuck.
Oh,
right. I
geez.
can't go. I don't know what I did.
You need to go see Bo, dude.
So I need someone to just help to make sure that I can actually draw my bow back. And what motions do I need to do to, you know?
I will go in detail beyond that, the stuff that is needed for people functional. Like people will laugh about Pilates, they'll laugh about yoga, they'll laugh about Bosu balls and balance.
Flexibility.
You would not be amazed at the workouts that you can do with those with body weight alone and how it'll help you in the woods. I mean, think about the biggest things that people complain about is ankle pain, knee pain, back pain when they start hunting or start doing anything in the outdoors. Because let's face it, most people just like, you don't exercise, you don't do anything all year, and suddenly like, oh, I'm gonna go out to the deer camp, and you just feel like dog shit because your
She
body's not
drank
used
a
to it.
bunch. She drank a case of Busch
Right.
Light on top of it.
There's little things that you can do leading up to it workout wise that don't take a lot of time, that don't even require a gym, that can just set you up for success for your body to not hurt so much.
We
And
talked
then if
it.
it
We
does
said
hurt,
it's,
I've got some other tricks that I can share to like help that along.
yeah, it's called weed.
I'm not gonna lie.
Are you saying
Cannabis
weed and
does have to
whitetails
do
is
with it.
coming? Weed and whitetails?
Boy, oh boy, the day I step out
Legit.
on my own, we'll do a weed and whitetails episode. But
We
I
should.
don't know.
I'm a big believer in what I do. It's a full spectrum CBD. It's literally a stick. It's sold by a company
I've
in
done the
Milwaukee.
CBD sticks before on joints. It's legit, or some muscle stuff.
Fuck
and,
yeah, the stuff is great. Like,
But they put like
I
some
can't
mint
tell
in
you
there,
times-
so I'm also like, wow, it just
Yeah.
feels nice because it's cold. So maybe that's what it is.
the menthol, like it does like that perfect chilling, but the CBD does like the muscle relaxing, helps you feel good. Man, after throwing an A rig for an entire weekend, if anyone fishes and knows what I'm talking about, musky fishermen, I'm gonna say that. People like golf, like there's so many benefits. And I even think about guys that are out shooting long shoots with a bow. Like you're gonna have aches and pains, things
Yeah,
like
if you
that.
have if you have a deer
legit can
camp
help.
bod, you might want this stuff. I don't know.
And I'm not trying to be like I'm selling cannabis thing. This isn't weed and whitetails, but like it's legit.
Yeah, you're right.
a
Your
real
next
thing that works.
podcast is going to be Buds and Bass.
Buds and Bass, baby. You damn right.
Oh,
And I'm
I'll
not
send you
talking
the
about those
artwork.
crappy beers.
I hate Budweiser.
Oh.
Well, good stuff, guys. Ritter, thanks for jumping on to bail me out of my calendar mishap. And Derek, thanks for showing up tonight for the same reason, because I wasn't sure who I was getting. I wasn't sure because I know Greg's busy.
Anytime
So,
I've got this beautiful studio built to, do exactly this. So
good stuff. Well, yeah. So next week, I mean, we don't have a guest until the 4th of June. I don't know what today's date is. It's the 14th. So I think I think that'll be the first week of June. Nosler will be on the show at that point. Tony Cordero just said, I think we should have a lead fest with Nosler. And I think that's an idea worth entertaining. I think that'd be a really good idea for rifle sight-ins. And we just happen to a really great place not far from here called Vortex Edge.
Vortex.
And we probably know a lot of the right people to make that happen. So
Here's
not like
what
I
I'll-
need more to do, but I feel like I need more to do.
I'm going to jump in here while I'm here, and I'm going to pre-promote. Coming up this Thursday on our YouTube stream for Campo Chaos, we're going to talk to Sean Budiak of X2 Power about lithium battery and lithium power technologies in the outdoors. It's not just about fishing. There's a ton of ways that it can benefit you in just life in general, and some cool differences that makes their product better than others. We're going to talk a lot about that. It'll be live on the podcast stuff, I think, Friday
Sean
morning.
is the worst guest ever. Good luck with no kidding. He's great. I love Sean.
He is legit tracking
he
him
knows his
down.
shit. He knows his
He
shit
does.
so well. So like, be prepared for all the battery jargon stuff. They have a calculator for the power stations on the X2 battery website. They have a battery calculator. They have a battery app. I know more about these batteries than you could imagine.
They've got some kick-ass products that people think don't know about that are pretty cool. And again, not trying to make it a sales thing, not trying to sell their thing. It's just like I like to share stuff that I think is really freaking cool. And they've got some really cool things that other people don't have.
I dig it. All right, guys, we could do this all night long. I got work to do. And
yeah, I got to get a 6-year-old to sleep.
Good luck with that. At bedtime,
yeah, I promised him bedtime the rest of the week because Dad's got a tournament leading this weekend. So I'm supposed to be on all the bedtime. So yeah, it's 3 minutes away from now.
All right, guys. We'll